Russell here, Results Investment Group. Following a video I did last week about our current government and leader of the Australian people and the proposed tax changes that they're trying to get through Senate, and me presenting this pre-capital gains tax and my concern for the Australian people, I want to say firstly, thank you for all the positive feedback, the educational feedback, the abusive feedback, and it's interesting to see the different perspectives that people have. And while I'd like to say that I would like to have many millions in superannuation, I actually don't. While I've done just to clear things up on a few things where it was interesting that, oh, well, why, you've got this much and, what, boo-hoo you. Well, just to let you know, I don't have that. And while I look forward to celebrating a day when I do, my mission for sharing these messages is to educate the Australian people on what we can do to build happier, wealthier, more prosperous lives. And I'm learning just the same, and that's why I do these videos, to help me and to help you. So hopefully one day I'll be able to tell you about all the millions that I have. And while I've done some really good things with investing and making money, I've also done some really short-sighted, silly things that has cost me. And again, that's why I do these videos. Help me stay on track and share what I'm learning and share it with you guys. For those of you who want to take advantage of it. If you don't, maybe this isn't the channel for you, but if you do, then stay and view. Alrighty, I pondered on this video and I thought a lot about the feedback and how I felt about things, and I'm not going to deny it. It's upsetting to see things that I personally don't agree with. I'm not saying that others can't, because clearly you can, but for me, I feel that there are right ways to do things and there's wrong ways to do things, no matter how much or how little money that you've got. That's just my opinion. And I got to thinking, am I being a victim here or am I being a victor? And I realized for me that I'm being a victim. I was falling into a place where unless I run for government and go down that path and do everything that I can, I don't believe there's a lot that I can do. Maybe someone else has a different opinion about impacting what our politicians do, how, and depending on which way they lean, left or right, the decisions that they're going to make, and are they going to be the right decisions for the Australian people, the Australian workers. And I don't believe I can do much. I can share information, I can give education, and I got to thinking, well, how can I thrive and turn any time that I find myself in the current economic cycle to prosper, to survive, to thrive? And I've come up with a list of points that if you would like to know what I know that I've done in the past, and the people that I study and the people that I follow, what they do to survive and thrive in times where maybe there's more taxes and maybe income's a bit tighter. But let's face it, every economic time that I've been in, whether it's good or really challenging, there's always been people that are struggling, and there's also people that are always thriving. So is it the economic landscape and what some government's doing, or is it the person? And I believe it's the person. Now, in saying that, are there times where things are better? I think so. There are times where there's no war and you can get on with life. And then there's times we're in a storm and we're trying to figure out how to get to the shoreline that we're trying to get to. So maybe we're in a bit of a storm at the moment. So if we're in a storm, what can we do? What can we do to thrive in these times, and really in any economic time where we feel like we're not on the back foot as opposed to being on the front foot? And again, I'm just speaking for myself, because maybe you're flying, maybe you're on the front foot and everything's going really well, or maybe you're struggling, maybe you're stressed and you want to know what you can do to take charge of your financial situation so you can feel better mentally for you and your family, so we can all move forward regardless of what we're having thrown at us by people that are doing their jobs as politicians. And as one comment I saw there, which I thought was very, very true, which is, why are they doing it? They're just being politicians, and that's what they do. And what can we do? This is my list. So let's go through it. And I'm saying this list is easy, by the way. Some of this is confronting, and I'm saying this list, not all of them, but for many important reminders for me, and you'll know what's relevant to you by me going through this list. First thing is waking up. Waking up to the fact that there are times where we have to move from being worriers and victims and complaining to warriors. As a friend of mine once said to me, he said, shut up and let your results do the speaking for you. Don't talk about what you want or don't want. Get on with working and fix what you need to fix and do what you need to do to get a better flow going, or whatever it is that you need to fix. I know what I'm working on. You know what you're working on to make things better for ourselves and our families that we know we need to work on. The next thing is also getting fitter and healthier. If we're in a time where we need to be at our best mentally and physically, we might need to sober up. I know in this country, we love to have a drink, we love to socialize, we love to go out and eat, which I think is wonderful. And I love going out and having a drink and seeing my friends and having a great time. But sometimes if there is stuff leaking out the bottom of the money bucket, it might mean some stuff's got to stop or vastly reduced. I sit with a lot of people in my business, and a lot of the time we're going through, how do we do it? We don't have enough money. And then we work out what's going out the door on alcohol, what's going out the door on Uber Eats, what's going out the door of eating out, what's going out the door on big fat car loans for cars that they don't even need to have. I know very often people think they've got to have the big four-wheel drive and the slick car. And if you want that, great. It's your choice. This is the other thing about all of us taking responsibility for where we're at. Everything that we've done, whether we like it or not, invariably, I believe we've made a decision to be there at some form or another. We applied for the job, we got in the relationship, we had the kids, we spent the money. Me too. I have made decisions and ended up down a path where I know it was me. I put myself there. Not in all occasions, I get it. Bad things happen to good people, and I'm not wanting to go there saying, we attracted it. I don't want to believe that. I just believe, what is it that we can look at, that we can take responsibility for, especially in these times where taxes might be going up and, surplus income is less than we want. What can we do to have more coming in and less going out so we're in profit? Waking up, taking responsibility, getting fitter and healthier, stopping the leakage, less alcohol, cut out the gambling, the socializing, even less. And then what can we do to start getting on top of the flow? What can we do to cut expenses? What can we do to reduce the wastage of money going out? And this leads me to the next point. It's called the B word. The B word is budgeting our money. Do you know how much is coming in and how much is going out? And are you putting money away for longer term expenses? Are you aware of where you're at? And look, I get it. It can be confronting looking at the money flow. But this is the other thing that I've realized and remembered is this, that just because someone's making a wage doesn't mean that they're not in business for themselves. If you are providing a service, you are making an income. That income is not just to frivol away on paying for groceries and buying cars and paying mortgages. That money is, in the words of Michael Caine in a comedy called Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, even though it's a comedy, it's a very profound line. He says, with making money comes great responsibility. And I get in our education system, we are never taught about money. The schooling system will spend years on teaching about geography and history and science and level 12 mathematics and all this stuff, but no classes on how to have a good relationship, how to achieve a goal, how to take charge of your finances, how to buy a house, how to save money, how to start a business, how to create multiple income streams, how to communicate, and how to understand your emotions, how to navigate ourselves through life. So then we have to take control and responsibility of ourselves by being more educated and more aware of what we can do to make things better for our lives. And one of the key skills that I believe everyone will benefit from, as hard as it is knowing what money is coming in and going out, and going to work together as a family to figure out and go, okay, what are we doing? Where's the money going out? Where's it coming? Are we in a hole? Are we in trouble? What do we need to do? And if we're going okay, what can we do to make things better? Because I get it. There can be challenging times where you might be thinking, oh yeah, Trevor, all well and good for you, but I've got kids to feed and groceries to pay for and school fees. I get it. I'm not wanting to be disrespectful. I have my own costs. I have my own expenses going out, and I can totally relate. But I do know for a fact, having done a few things in a smarter, better way, is even if things are tight for me cash flow, I have figured out to know, okay, I've got to have this much coming in and I can't be spending that, because if I do, I'm going into the negative. That's not what I want to do, and that's not where I want to be, and that means I can't go out and I can't spend money. And it's taken me a while to figure this out. I have also fallen into the deep negative, and I just want to say I get it. But what can we do to take charge of that money flow? And if there's money stress going on, and this is proving to be a challenging time, and if you haven't done this, please, if you want to help you and your family, sit down, figure out the money flow. The next thing is, everyone's got to go to work. What can we do to all go to work? And what can we do that if we have to make a bit more money and spend a bit less money? I've got a friend at the moment. He's got a full-time day job and he's driving Uber at night to get more money coming in, because he knows what he's wanting to save. He's knowing what he wants to do. He's got his budget and he's doing it. Is he a bit tired? Yes. Is he a bit unhappy? Yes. But he's got the goal and he's doing the work. Look, no disrespect to parents. I get it. But, you know, are the kids working? Are they old enough to work? And if so, can they be working? What can we do? And if they are, fantastic. But I think it's so important that we recognize, if we want something bad enough, we will figure out how to get it. If we want something and it's important enough, we will find a way to find the money. And I'm not talking going and borrowing money to go and have a holiday to Bali. I'm talking about really important stuff. If we are serious enough about it, we will figure it out, but we've got to know what it is that we're working to figure out, to get and do. Very often I find it comes down to a few things, which is doing things that are uncomfortable to get comfortable. Because look, let's face it, even with all the change of government and taxes, if you live in Australia and I get it, there's homeless and there's people that are really struggling, and I get that's a whole other issue. But what I'm talking about here is for those of us that are working, are employed, if we're making money and we've got a job and we're moving forward, I believe we are in a very good country. And I believe very often we can always make things better with what we've got. And if you are willing to work in Australia, be smarter with your money, smarter with how we think and what we do and what we spend, we can do very well in this country. But it's just going to mean at times getting a bit uncomfortable, because let's face it, everything that we truly want to achieve and have achieved has always lived on the other side of uncomfortable. As someone once said to me, if you do life easy, life will be hard. But if you work life and do it hard at times, life will be easy. So what is it that I need to do that's hard and uncomfortable? What is it that you need to do that's hard and uncomfortable? And I bet you would know what those things are. What needs cleaning up? What needs to be improved? What needs to be stopped? What needs to be started? Which leads me to the next point is, we all have 24 hours in the day. I get it. We've got kids to get to school. We've got jobs to do. We've got all that stuff. But where are those little half hours and an hour or 2 hours where we could do something to make things better? Where we could do something to to get on top of our finances, to figure out what our goal is, to work out what we could do to make things better, what skill we could improve and develop and learn, and what could we do a bit less of just to feel good and waste time with our time. Because again, 24 hours in the day for everyone, people in very similar situations, some are struggling and some are thriving. So what are the different people doing with their times? In this guide here, I'll tell you about it in a minute. So if you want to copy, one of the points I wrote down here is, what do the more financially free and successful, and I'm talking people that are in jobs, but they've got six-figure, five-figure, six-figure incomes, or in business and very prosperous, same people could be sitting next to you at work, but could be in very different situations. Or it could be you, that's the prosperous one, sitting next to someone who's struggling. Let's look at what the ones that can be struggling doing with their time. Maybe burning too much time on social media and time wasting stuff like Netflix and all that stuff, which I love, and I love YouTube, but a little bit, not heaps. Let's get better goals and priorities and eat the frog. In other words, do what's yucky and uncomfortable with some of that time. A bit of study, a bit of learning, a bit of budgeting, a bit of changing of stuff to do, and a little bit of television. Out socializing, eating and wasting money on all the food and Uber Eats and stuff, just burning money, which could be going into lowering debts and improving savings, which I talked about. So you've got the FU money. What's the FU money? I'll tell you about that in a minute. It's a tough conversation to have, but alcohol and gambling, very, very challenging issue in Australia, and a big impact on people mentally, financially, and that's a whole other conversation. But if that's something that you are struggling with, or someone that you know, and it's causing financial stress, what can be done to get it change going? And I know addiction and mental health are big issues, but there's so much help here. It sometimes might just mean I've got to have some courage to ask for some help to get this monkey off my back. They are working a job, which is fine, but they're not utilizing the job to their advantage, i.e., which is what the more successful and prosperous doing. They understand what money they're making, they know where it's going, and they are always working to be spending less than they're making. Because if you're making $5,000 a month and you're spending $6,000, you're heading for a train wreck of life, or you're already in it. But if you're making $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month, whatever, and you're spending 10 to 20% less than that, and that extra percent's going into your savings to build wealth, this is a prosperous person. And I met a lady once. She didn't make a huge income. She worked in the government. Let's say she was making $60,000 a year, and we got chatting, and she was worth millions of dollars, had lots of investment properties. And I said, how did you do it? And she said, I've just been very careful with my money. We all chip in. We're very careful with what we spend. I managed to save. I found a little deal with one house, and then that went up in value. We took care of it, and then I did another. And it's a whole other conversation. But it's not always about how much we make. It's what we do with it and how we think about it that makes the big difference. So now let's just talk really quickly about the FU money. One of the biggest stresses that I know in life, and I see it because I've got friends, I've been there, I've got clients, is where you are up to here in money debt and cash flow, like you're just here, there's the water, and it's 100,000 feet down, that if you were to dip under, in other words, you lost your job, you're going to drown. That is a very stressful situation to be in, and many people end up there because, the money goes out, we get the car loan, we're spending a bit more, the next thing is we've got to buy that, we've got to do that. And I know life happens, but so often I believe it could have been avoided by going, no, we can't afford it, we can't buy that, we can't have that, and we can't do that because we're going to end up drowning. Again, uncomfortable, tough and hard. But if we're going to make things better and thrive in any economic time, what can we change, fix, and improve and do to make things better so that we can lower expenses, either keep income the same or ideally make more income, and get that gap going to start paying debts off, or not even getting in debt in the first place. If you can't afford to buy the car, you can't do it. You just got to go with. Anyway, I'm driving a 2011 Mazda, and I'm not saying I've got it all figured out, but there's no way in hell I'm buying a car on a lease until I can afford to run it through my business. And that's a whole other conversation, because I know that $500-600 I could be putting to savings and an investment, and I'm just not willing to do that. I don't care. I know no one really thinks about me anyway, and we think people think, and I know we want to drive the nice cars, and I know I'm harping on cars, but I'm telling you, I've seen so many financial statements and asset and liability statements with people that I work with, and cars can be one of the biggest wealth destroying problems in the world, because it's very easy to go borrow money to buy a car, and if you can afford to buy a beautiful nice car and pay the lease and loan, so be it. But if money's tight, I'm saying sell stuff. If you got to get rid of stuff, look, I had a relationship once with a nice woman, and she had the $1,200 a month car loan going out for this car. She wanted to save and buy a house. We're going to do it together, actually. And I said, you got to sell that car. And she's like, what? I said, you got to sell that car. You need to free up that $1,200. And she actually did it. And she bought a little Mazda, a little runabout. I think it cost her $6,000. She owned it. And that money then went to saving $50,000 so she could invest in a property. And we bought our first property together. So sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. And we like to have a red wine, but we bought cask wine for a year, and we drank coffee from McDonald's. And I'm not saying I got figured out, but I'm just telling you, I've done a few things that have worked. And, depending on where you're at, firstly, no one cares what you're driving and what you've got. So get rid of that. Don't worry about that. All that matters is you, your financial position, and your family's financial position. Because let me tell you, any of those people that you might be thinking about what they're thinking about you and what you're driving and what you're doing, they are not going to be around, let me tell you, if or when that you might need them at some point in the future. The people that matter will be there. If you're up to here like this with the money, and you can figure out a way to start lowering expenses, increasing income, getting rid of debts, saving some money, putting money away, even while life's going on. Yes, you might be working a bit harder, you might be needing to sell a bit more, make more commission, whatever, and you start accumulating some money in the bank, and let's say you accumulate 3 or 6 months, I know for some it can be a big goal, of your income in the bank. Do you know how free you will feel? I'm not saying it's easy to get there. I know what life can be like. But what if that was a goal? What if you said to yourself or with the family and said, we're going to knuckle down and we're going to figure out how to make more and spend less, and we're going to bank 6 months income. We're going to bank it. And we're going to have it there in an account. We don't touch it. Just in the event that we want to go, F you, excuse the finger, but metaphorically, the number one reason most people are stressed to the eyeballs is they have got no wriggle room at work. They have no ability to negotiate. They literally hope and pray every day, I've got to keep my job or we are screwed. And that is a very, very tough position to be in. Again, I say this with love and compassion because I know everyone's situation is different. But if you are in a good position and you've done that, great. But if this does resonate with you in this economic time or any economic time, do the best that you can to start lowering those costs, increasing the income, and getting a positive amount coming saved and put away. I read a book called by Wallace D. Waddell, and it's called The Science of Getting Rich. And he said in that book, there will always be good and bad times. There will be politicians that do what they will do. But if you focus on getting rich and whatever rich is to you, if you want to have X amount of money saved or whatever you want to have in super or self-managed super, your rich goal is yours. My rich goal is mine. But our focus on where we put our focus is where our energy flows. And for me personally, I just want to share this video to say, I get it. I'm not saying I want to give up on our country and what's going on, but I really know right here and now, I really can't do much other than educate people on what's happening and to do stuff like this by sharing what can we do, what can we control by the powers of being doing what they're doing, what can we do to take care of ourselves and our family, to make sure that we're taking care of our health, that we're being warriors and not worriers, and really being in the driver's seat of our lives regardless of what the economic system's doing, regardless of what's going on. What can we do to do things in smarter, more confident, braver times ways? Thank you for watching, Trevor Russell. Hey, look, I know we've all got different opinions, but I want to say I genuinely care for people. I want us to do well. I know I'm not the most articulate and I've got all the answers, but I'll tell you what I do have. I do care and I have a passion. I don't know everything. I'm navigating my way through life. I know a few good things about how to help people borrow money, invest, and do things the right way, only because I've done so many silly things. But I've also worked with hundreds of clients to see the right way to do things. And that's what I'm passionate about. I love sharing content to help us have better lives. But this stuff does mean not just listening, it does mean doing, taking some action. And that's what I want for you, is to take the action and to do some things. Now, if you want to take some action, I'll put a link in the description below. Free guide, excuse it's the other way around because I'm on the selfie camera. Secrets of the Modern Wealthy, Ditch the Worry. It's time to create the business, income, and life you want. In here is how to get rid of these stories that stop us and how to start creating stories and motivation that motivate us to do things that are a bit uncomfortable. What do we need to stop doing and what do we need to start doing with our time to get a better result and a better flow going? How do we take charge of our money? How do we budget? How do we navigate that money coming in and going out in a really simple but smart way? So even if you're in a hole and going, wow, we've actually got more going out than coming in, at least you know where you're at, because now we can start filling the hole up, getting it lowered. Might take years, but better to do something now than to do nothing at all and just live in a constant state of stress and pain and frustration. So on budgeting and how to use time in smarter, better, more productive ways. And this is a great one here, how to use your job to get wealthy and financially free. This, when I learned this and put this down, is a game changer. Plenty of good stuff in here about all that. I'll put a link below. It goes to another website of mine, Transformed You, which is teaching people how to build online businesses, which is another interest of mine. So you can have a look at that. But if nothing else, you'll get a copy of the guide if you put your name and email. But if you want to have a chat to me or my team about how we can help you with your self-managed super fund, investing in property, making that work, looking at your loans, what we can do to either refinance or help you buy a house or investment the right way to make sure it works for your budget, or have a good chat about what you can do to get a better flow going, all that good stuff would be a pleasure. Please like the video, subscribe. I appreciate the feedback. The good and the challenging kind of hit me a bit, but I guess, you know, the world's got people and everyone's got their own opinion. But I do know that my intentions are honorable and right, and I'm not perfect. I'm just trying to do the best that I can because I want to make a difference in the world. I want to be the voice of inspiration and positive change, and I believe the education that we should be getting, but we simply just don't. And if nothing else, just to let you know that you're amazing, you've done the most amazing things, you can do the most amazing things, and wherever you're at in this time, you can prosper and do well. And I say, let's not let whatever's going on hold us back. Let's choose to figure out how we can turn any time into an opportunity and to thrive. It's what I wish for you, and it's what I wish for me and everyone. Thanks for watching. Speak to you real soon.